Remove your chains. Apostate means runaway slave.
We've got a treat, guys. Let's get right into it. So for those of you who weren't aware, since my channel has grown a lot since my second code was cracked, I do hide secret codes on my channel from time to time. I received an email a little while ago about somebody who actually managed to finally crack the third code that I put on my channel. Here's what that email said. So as not to dox you, we'll just call you Eric.
Sorry for the all caps there. That was copy-paste from an online substitution cipher decoder, which happens to be converting everything to caps. I don't know how many others have gotten this already. I sort of lucked into seeing the code in the first place, and then spent far too long trying to decode it. I'm certainly no cryptographer. After spending some time on the binary ASCII in the video's title and description, I took a hint from one of the comments. Reason Vision's comments about Morse code got me thinking about the audio. So I installed YouTube/DL, downloaded the video, realized I didn't have Audacity, installed Audacity, and used Audacity to open up the video's audio track. What I expected was to maybe find high or low pitches, or volumes that could be interpreted as binary, or something along those lines. What I didn't expect was, after some messing around, to change to a spectrogram view and see this.
And if you guys look at the image on my right, you will see that you have a bunch of text there. The fact that my last code was cracked so easily made me realize that I needed to make this one a little bit harder to understand, so I threw in a bunch of red herrings. For those of you that use a binary decryptor on the title and description of that video, you'll know what I'm talking about, and made the actual sound of the video utter nonsense, nothing but a series of beeps. This must have led some people down the line of Morse code, which obviously was another red herring. Try to interpret into Morse code all you want, you'll never be able to get anything out of it. But throwing it into a spectrogram, now that shows you this. So let's continue with the email.
After that, it should have been easy, but for me it wasn't. I assumed, correctly, that it was some sort of substitution, but I had no idea how to find the alphabet or key. I spent entirely too long searching for the key and even manually trying to guess. Eventually, I took another look at the tiny mini space between the T and the K, and I had noticed it already, but it seemed too small to be a space, and since I couldn't find anything else that seemed to line up with it, and since there weren't any other spaces, I had assumed it was just an odd kerning and not actually a space at all. But taking a second look, there were 26 characters before the mini space. Not only that, but those were 26 unique letters with no repetition. This couldn't be a coincidence. Could it be the key? Yes, it could be the key. And it was the key. I had wasted hours looking for the blindingly obvious answer. I'm dumb.
Well, no, you're not dumb. In fact, there were hundreds of people led on the exact same wild goose chase. You just happen to be the first person that was able to solve this, so you're not dumb. Far from it. Now, originally, the rewards for doing something like this were 3 videos. The video shouting out that somebody had cracked the code, a video of their choice, and a video live hangout where they could hop on my channel at any point and have a live chat with me. I'd like to make an addendum to the rule, though. If you don't have time or you have no want to hop on the channel live, then you get 2 videos instead of 1. So let's find out what video that you wanted.
As for the video, what about something likely to be positive? Would you be in a position to do one on humanism, whatever perspective you actually have, positive or negative? Would be great. I have to pass on the live stream, but thank you.
Well, Eric, I certainly hope you enjoyed decoding that, and I hope everybody else enjoyed their wild goose chase who wasn't able to finish solving it. Hopefully this video gives you an idea of what these puzzles are likely to be like. Before the month's over, I should have the next code set up on my channel, so definitely keep an eye out for that. As for humanism, I guess I'll go ahead and just run through the Humanist Manifesto real quick and give my thoughts on each point.
Humanism is a progressive philosophy of life that, without supernaturalism, affirms our ability and responsibility to lead ethical lives of personal fulfillment that aspire to the greater good of humanity. The life stance of humanism, guided by reason, inspired by compassion, and informed by experience, encourages us to live life well and fully. It evolved through the ages and continues to develop through the efforts of thoughtful people who recognize that values and ideals, however carefully wrought, are subject to change as our knowledge and understandings advance. This document is part of an ongoing effort to manifest in clear and positive terms the conceptual boundaries of humanism. Now, not what we must believe, but a consensus of what we do believe. It is in this sense that we affirm the following. Knowledge of the world is derived by observation, experimentation, and rational analysis. Humanists find that science is the best method for determining this knowledge, as well as for solving problems and developing beneficial technologies. We also recognize the value of new departures in thought, the arts, and inner experience, each subject to analysis by critical intelligence.
So far, I agree with almost everything that has been shown here, except that it says that humanists find science to be the best method for determining knowledge. While I think that this generally holds true, that scientific methodology is a wonderful way of determining knowledge, we do still have to understand that the underlying principle of that is philosophy, and philosophy is how we're going to determine things like ethics that science, unfortunately, doesn't have quite as much of a hand in. Granted, it is worded that science is the best method, and I am very willing to agree that science is the best method that we have for determining many things within the natural world. There are just some concepts, though, that I don't think science is the best way of determining. For instance, science is going to tell you a lot about what things are, but it's not going to tell you about how things ought to be. Philosophy and philosophical discussion and discourse is going to be a much better method of determining things like personal or societal ethics. If you want to argue that the scientific method is a way to determine this, then that's fine, but just understand that the scientific method is, in fact, philosophy. Personally, I'm fine with this divide being there. Science is an amazing tool that we've used to broaden our knowledge knowledge of the world. But science doesn't broaden our knowledge of math. Math broadens our ability to expand scientific discovery. Oughts can't be derived from science, but they can be derived from philosophy. Science doesn't give us the knowledge from fictions or literature that many of our childhood heroes come from. These are experiences, and therefore knowledge, that cannot be derived simply from applying the scientific method. But that's fine. Science is amazing at what it does do, which is study the activity and the behavior of the physical and natural world. That's its job, and it's amazing at that.
Humans are an integral part of nature, the result of unguided evolutionary change. Humanists recognize nature as self-existing. We accept our life as all and enough, distinguishing things as they are from things we might wish or imagine them to be. We welcome the challenges of the future and are drawn to and undaunted by the yet-to-be known.
I take it as a matter of being pragmatic that nature is self-evident. So this is a point that I'm fine with, mainly because the question of origins doesn't necessarily bother me. If we happen to come from a god, neat. If we happen to not come from a god, also neat. All that matters to me is whether or not religions do harm, and I do my best to counteract the type of harm that I do find. As a result, seeing that humans are an integral part of nature makes perfect sense to me. We just so happen to be the one being that evolved to have sapience, at least in the way that we understand it. So this is one tenet that I don't have any issue with at all. Distinguishing things as they are from as we would want them to be is how we determine what our goals are. I want to be a better YouTuber, so I imagine myself in a position where I could be. This gives me a chance to actively work towards that goal.
Ethical values are derived from human need and interest as tested by experience. Humanists ground values in human welfare shaped by human circumstance, interests, and concerns, and extended to the global ecosystem and beyond. We are committed to treating each person as having inherent worth and dignity, and to making informed choices in a context of freedom consonant with responsibility.
This, again, is something that I would personally hold to. I think that ethics, while subjective for the most part, being a moral anti-realist, are something that are derived from human need. The efficacy of these ethics are determined by the experience of the culture or individuals that find themselves having to exercise them. This does bring me to an interesting point, and that's that morals and ethics are actually different. Ethics usually refer to specific rules, guidelines, or actions taken by a group, whereas morals tend to be a little more aimed to the individual. Now, I know that I've personally gotten these mixed up in the past, and I'm sorry about that. That, however, is for a completely separate topic on morality, and maybe, just maybe, I'll do a video on that someday. You know, to replace the crappy one that I'd used to begin my channel.
Life's fulfillment emerges from individual participation in the service of humane ideals. We aim our fullest possible development and animate our lives with a deep sense of purpose, finding wonder and awe in the joys and beauties of human existence, its challenges and tragedies, and even in the inevitability and finality of death. Humans rely on the rich heritage of human culture and the life stance of humanism to provide comfort in times of want and encouragement in times of plenty.
Again, no issue here. This seems like a very easy way to build up a structure for one's personal meaning or purpose in life. This also serves as an excellent counterpoint to people that think that you need some form of theism for purpose. You don't. It just so happens that your personal need derives from it, and mine, and many others, doesn't. One of the bits of heritage from human culture recently is video games, and they happen to give me a wonderful sense of purpose. Not just playing video games, because that wouldn't give me a good sense of purpose, but researching the history of video games, how certain ones are made, and the culture that was around certain significant cases in video game culture. For instance, why it's a big deal that Samus happens to be a female character, which writers were at the helm during certain portions of the Warcraft storyline, why Mario has his classic cap and overalls. I get a huge sense of fulfillment by researching the history behind these questions, on top of actually playing the video games that I get these questions from. On top of that, my history with religion has given me the want to make the channel in the way that I have. Between these two, I've got a pretty narrowly focused sense of purpose, and I'm perfectly okay with that. And honestly, I think that everyone else should be as well. Whatever you happen to find are the things that you enjoy in life, make them your focus and purpose. I'd also like to point out that this particular tenet helps people understand why we have things like Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Humans are social by nature and find meaning in relationships. Humanists long for and strive towards a world of mutual care and concern, free of cruelty and its consequences, where differences are resolved cooperatively without resorting to violence. The joining of individuality with interdependence enriches our lives, encourages us to enrich the lives of others, and inspires hope and attaining peace, justice, and opportunity for all.
The only problem I have at this point is that it sounds very idealistic and utopian in its approach. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. Having idealistic values is how we actually manage to get society pushed forward. As they say, someone had to have a dream for things to get better. So aside from the fact that it sounds like it has some utopian underpinnings, I don't really have much of an issue with this point. I think we live in a pretty disgusting world, and I would personally like to make it better.
Working to benefit society maximizes individual happiness. Progressive cultures have worked to free humanity from the brutalities of mere survival and to reduce suffering, improve society, and develop global community. We seek to minimize the inequities of circumstance and ability, and we support a just distribution of nature's resources and the fruits of human effort so that as many as possible can enjoy a good life. Humans are concerned for the well-being of all, are committed to diversity, and respect those of differing yet humane views. We work to uphold the equal enjoyment of human rights and civil liberties in an open, secular society and maintain it as a civic duty to participate in the democratic process and a planetary duty to protect nature's integrity, diversity, and beauty in a secure, sustainable manner. Thus, engaged in a flow of life, we aspire to the vision with informed conviction that humanity has the ability to progress towards its highest ideals. The responsibility for our lives and the kind of world in which we live is ours and ours alone.
This is an issue that I think I agree with, but I also think that there's parts of it that I might not. There are some individuals whose individual happiness is not at all tied to the benefit of society. If somebody is sitting on $2 million and all they want to do is sit around and read books all day and just live off of that until the day they die, then more power to them. It doesn't benefit society, but it also doesn't cause any harm. If somebody, however, wants to benefit society as a whole, and that is their calling, then this is a tenet that's right up your alley. It should also be noted that earlier in the manifesto, it explicitly said that these are not things that have to be followed to a T, but basically guidelines. So, boring as the video might be for it, I do, for the most part, agree with this one as well. This seems to be a very simple and ethical structure that people can use to benefit their lives without having to rely on a deity. There might certainly be an argument to be had about individuals who would find themselves in a situation where they're distinctly worse with a deity or distinctly better with a deity. There are those that do no harm to those around them only because a god is stopping them in their mind. I personally think that's a horrible idea not to hurt somebody. I think that you just shouldn't hurt people around you in general, but these people no less exist. And they are probably the one wrench that can be thrown in the idea of humanism for all. That said, there is one point on humanism as a whole that I would like to add an addendum to. I don't think that you have to be an atheist to be a humanist. A lot of these tenets seem like something that somebody who deems themselves as Christian could easily follow. I could also see a pagan following these as well. As long as whatever you feel you need to do to glorify your god does not impede on any of these tenets, you should be able to follow them just fine. Following this structure would generally lead to a better society, at least in my opinion, but I'm also not an expert on things like this. Now, there is a narrative that I've heard once or twice that humanism is an attempt to venerate people as personal gods, and I think taking a look at the manifesto pretty much debunks that. I see no part of this that venerates me as my own personal deity, and I see no part of this manifesto that would impede on anyone else's religion. Although I would make the argument that if you happen to be in a religion and you find yourself at odds with any one of these tenets, except maybe the one about science, since I, as an atheist, also took a little umbrage to that one, then maybe your religion is actually the problem. If your religion prevents you from working to benefit society, or allowing your fellow human to find their own meaning in life that doesn't require your deity, in that case, I would find your religion to be a huge problem. If your deity says that I can't find my own fulfillment in my own life, then screw your deity. But as long as your god allows you to play nice with everyone else, then we're cool. So, my personal views on humanism. I don't hold any umbrage with most of the tenets of it, and would label myself as a humanist personally. I think that you could probably build a pretty tenable society off of this, and I would like to see a society built with it to see what happens. If that society ends up failing, then at least they tried. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, thank you Eric for the video suggestion, and thank you for taking the time to crack that code. Past that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed my personal take on humanism. Also, give Eric a round of applause in the comment section below, because I don't think it was really an easy feat cracking that code. If you guys haven't already, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button and hit the notification icon so that you can see when videos come up every day. Also, hit the like button and share it with your friends. That is probably the single best way to help out my channel. With that said, I'll see you guys tomorrow, and as usual, insert end of video tagline here.